He's gonna call me again. Recess at 9:30. Okay, one more time, you ready? 267-684. That was my fault. 267-684. Yeah. Sorry.
We're waiting for one of the other supervisors to join us by phone, so I apologize for the delay. Also, we are going to start with the presentation of fires before we do public comment. So everybody knows that.
This is a dial-in number?
Oh, 669-900-6833.
Yeah, and then the passcode.
Passcode is 267-684. The participant ID, you just hit pound.
It says participant ID, you just hit pound, and then you go to the passcode.
Then it should be the meeting ID, 595-007, and then it's the passcode.
Okay, so participant ID is pound, and then what's meeting ID? You put in that 595, yeah, that. Okay, so then it goes 595-007-2851. And then finally to the passcode. Okay, talk to you soon. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm on. If anybody can hear me.
All right. Keith. All right.
Yep.
All right, thanks, sorry for the delay. Good morning, welcome to the September 8th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'll go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you join me? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Because personnel has time, more timely, important things to do, we're going to go ahead and start with the presentation, and then we'll have public comment after the presentation. So the presentation for fires burning in Trinity County, there'll be no questions from the public. I don't know if there'll be questions from the board necessarily, but so we'll proceed with item 1.1, receive an update on fires burning in Trinity County, no physical impact. And is someone on Zoom for this presentation?
We are. Just we'll share it. If you could let me share the screen. This is Rick Alpert from California Interagency Incident Management Team 5. I am the liaison officer along with Corey Rose in the boardroom. Next to me is Alex McBath. He's our Planning Operations Section Chief. If I can just take control of the screen, please.
You should have it. We can see your phone.
That's not mine,
Oh,
but
hold on. If you try now, I think you should have it.
great. Okay, just give us a second. As we move around, I'll be drawing, and Alex will be talking, and so we'll move on slowly in case the bandwidth is not strong enough. Whoever has control over there, I do not have annotation on the screen.
Okay, let me look. I can't change that setting at this time. Can you just use a mouse cursor?
I will do our best. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. We will go slow and we'll just continue talking.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you see the cursor now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good morning. This is Alex McBath, the Operations Chief for Team 5 with management of the Monument Fire and the Knob from the Six Rivers. So what I'm going to do is walk you around the Knob Fire to start with, just real quick. The Knob Fire, which started just south of Willow Creek, it burnt south and west of Highway 299 from Willow Creek down to the South Fork Road. That fire is in really good shape. We have line around the entire fire, and we're doing mop up during the day and patrol during the night on that fire. So that fire is looking really well. Evacs and warnings on that fire that concern Trinity County are looking really well. We've been working with the sheriff on those. So those included South Fork Road, which is just on the Trinity County side, and then Salyer Hawkins Bar. So that fire's looking really good, winding down. Don't see any further stress to Trinity County from that particular fire. All right. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start down on the monument here in Crowell Bottoms. So Crowell Bottoms is just west of Big Bar, the 1647 road north of High Palm and Hayfork. We've had that in patrol status for quite a while now. That's holding real good. We don't foresee any issues or concerns from the 16 road, 47 road, north on the 60 road to Burnt Ranch. That's all looking really good. When we come out of Burnt Ranch and we start heading up the New River, along the New River and the canyon there before you get up to Hoboken, that's all looking real good. We haven't had any issues. They had a spot about 2 weeks ago in there that they picked up, and since then that has all been mopped up. The activity right now is on the Big Mountain, Big Creek side. The fire is flanking on the west slope, heading up to Big Mountain. It's been moving along in there for multiple days. It is currently flanking right along the New River, and we have resources down monitoring that fire activity. Due to the proximity to the old river complex fire scar, the fuels and a lot of the the oomph in that fire is taken out, but we still have quite a bit of worry that it will jump the New River. Right now, it hasn't done that. We have done structure prep up the New River, Hoboken, Daly, Denny, all those residents, and working up towards Jam on the east fork of the Trinity to the north right now with opening up access routes. So the plan on that side is to continue monitoring that fire, letting it back down to the New River, and just kind of following that along. It's moved approximately about 2 miles in the last 30 days to the north, so the progress has been really, really slow in there, and not threatening any infrastructure up in the wilderness. All right, I'm gonna move on along. The north side of the whole fire is checked up from the west side of Big French Creek back over to Big Mountain in the old fire scar, and it hasn't moved in probably 15 days. There is heat in there. It has the potential to do some backing in there, but no real issues. Moving on into Big French Creek and Limestone Ridge. There is a lot of fire activity up in there. That's the highest part of the Alps, and it's definitely burning in that wind scour out up there. We predict that's going to continue to move to the north. Moving down in the North Fork, as you can see, the fire is kind of checked along the North Fork, moving from Hellier to the north. Last night, during the red flag, it spotted across the North Fork, fairly high, above the Waldorf Trail area. And then from there, it spotted down into the East Fork on the west slope. That is concerning, but it's far enough to the north that if it should move more to the north and to the east, it's going to come up into the top of the ridge escarpment there on the Canyon Creek to the west. And so that we have resources in there, taking a look at that today and seeing if they can bring that back down into the East Fork Road, so there'll be more to come in there. East Fork is under mandatory order for evacuation, and then Canyon Creek's in a warning currently. All right, moving over to the Junction City area. That area's been cold for some number of days, and we don't see any change in that.
Hold on just a second, I'll need to move the map up. Okay, let me know when you can see the, can you see it on your screen now?
Yes.
All right, let me just, there we go.
Okay, so moving along on the south end, CAL FIRE had their CAL FIRE Team 5 on this for the last couple of weeks. They went out of Unified just a few days ago, but that whole south end's holding along the perimeter that they established. There's still some heat interior, and they do have resources down in what we're calling Branch 30, Division R&R, Romeo. Moving on into Division Whiskey. So down in Division Whiskey along the Hind Palm Road, the fire is pretty much checked north of the Hind Palm Road all the way down to Bar 717, with the exception of around 9 Mile Bridge where the fire came across into a big horseshoe in there. It is established. It's burning in Rush Creek. It's burning in Judd Creek. And it did cross yesterday into Drinkwater, which is down just to the kind of the west of Hayfork there. So we've had resources working in coordination with CAL FIRE to our #1 priority, which is the life and safety and structure protection within the Hayfork community there, specifically Drinkwater right now, but also along the south side of Hind Palm Road. And there was some stuff that was up on the north side that we're keeping an eye on. Concerns for that right now is the continued movement to the south and to the east. Our plan is to defend Hayfork to stop the spread to the east, and then start perimeter control around the south end of that spot fire, or slop over. We have established control lines in there, which include, if you run kind of east and west or northeast, southwest is Butter Creek, the 10 Road, and then we've also, some interior roads we've also prepped to be able to deal with the slop. And then as this fire comes off the hill here, down around Halfway Ridge, we don't, just the fire weather and what we're seeing, we don't have, or we suspect that will have control issues down in Hind Palm Creek as the 9 Mile Bridge did. So we're down, we have resources down in there. There is fire all the way from Pattison Ridge, down the Pattison Ridge Trail, back down the hand line into basically the confluence of West Miners Fork and Miners Creek. And that's to protect Bar 717 and western movement towards Hind Palm. The 10 Road currently is open, Forest Service 10 Road. Hind Palm Road is closed. And the 60 Road, heading out of Hind Palm over to Burnt Ranch is, we got authorization from the forest to utilize that, residents only, but they can utilize that road for egress and access. Residents only. The only other thing I guess I wanted to bring up is that there are multiple evacuations and warnings down in Hayfork from Highway 3 West. And then a little bit about the river complex to our north. The river complex, yep, the river complex and the Monument Fire have been working together and coordinating what the land between the two fires looks like. So that is happening. With that, I think I'll turn it back over to Rick.
All right, Ed or anybody else in the room there, is there anything else that we can assist you with this morning?
If there's any questions from the board, now would be the time, I believe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Keith. Emma, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Okay. All right, so the river complex just blew up last night. Coffee Creek's in real trouble. We're in a massive evacuation. We don't have enough structural protection going on right now. So I'm going to have to jump off at 9:30 for the cooperators meeting. Richard, I still need the...
I sent it to you. Keith, I sent it to you just now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And I'll be off for like half an hour and then I'll be back on. Thank you guys.
We are planning to recess for that meeting as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right.
Any other further questions for operations?
I think we're all set, Rick. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex.
All right then. Thank you, guys. We're going to go ahead and leave the meeting then.
Is that it for the fire update then? All right.
Yes, it is on our side,
Okay.
unless there are any other questions.
No, I was just checking with the members here in the room.
Yeah.
All right. Then we can move on.
Jeremy, I hate to be a pain. Emma, you need to send it to my business email because so that's alpensellers@tds.net.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right, we'll go into public comment now. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on subsequent board agenda.
Good morning, Supervisors. John Rauer from Junction City. And this is a morning of emergencies. And unfortunately, got some failures facing us in Trinity County. We have, a long-term failure of Forest Service to manage their fuels and their lands around our communities, the ridge tops. We have these big unstoppable events every year. And a lot of that is, is beyond their control, but they have failed to protect our communities and their land. And what I really want to talk about is the failure of Trinity County to operate this cannabis program. You've heard me come and speak to these matters for years now, since the very beginning. The sequel matter has been a frequent topic of conversation and sometimes some action from the county. Yesterday we had the vast majority of our cannabis licensees that have been able to survive all the twists and turns and challenges of licensure. Over 800 applicants, around 200 survivors at this point, a handful of suicides from program participants. And those licenses expired yesterday. The emergency extensions expired, and the county has failed them. Several hundred small family businesses, mostly, that have given everything into the program and put faith in the county to do their job. So, this is beyond a disappointment. This is a failure. And I expect the county to step up and do their job. It's been going on for years. It's not a surprise. We would love to hear a plan. We would love to see some action. We would love to see this taken seriously. This is serious. It's the largest employer in the county. Poorest county in the state. It's the very single largest employer. Hands down. So, I've asked for leadership, I've asked for cooperation, I've asked for compromise. Now it's time to do your job. Everyone here, do your job, please.
Thanks for your comments. Is there anyone else on the board that wishes to make a couple comments?
Hello, board. My name is Ilya. I'm from Junction City. I wanted to kind of say that I don't feel the protection from the county anymore as a license holder, as a participant of the program since 2017. I don't feel protection by the law, from the law, and I think that the board needs to, it's my personal opinion, I don't want to make any enemies of course, but I think that the board needs to step up, give the very clear directions to the Planning Commission to finish the CEQA, to work with the consultants, because this county is going to get bankrupt. Just our fees, the ones which we're paying every year, we don't even need to consider those. Look at the building permits, any other permits, the water diversion permits. I mean, it goes to the state, but you kind of get my point. This is a very serious situation. As I see it, some people don't realize it because it's been happening too many times, and I feel that a lot of people in the cannabis community, they're overheated because every year there's something new coming up. CEQA, then I'm a little nervous, but I hope you guys understand my point. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Good morning, Deidre Brower. I run Trinity River Consulting. We primarily focus on getting cannabis farmers licensed. One of the reasons that the county decided to have a legal cannabis program was because the environmental concerns really needed to be addressed. And they are with legalization, and the entire community has benefited from legalization. There's been a tremendous benefit and monies received. A lot of those monies have gone to code enforcement, which have helped the entire county. Environment has been cleaned up a lot. There's still work to do, but we're in the right direction. There's a lot of good jobs. I employ several people. There's other consultants. The farms are employing people. They're paying taxes. All that's going to go away. And you know, I'm begging for your help. These people continue to jump through the hoops that are asked of them. The goalpost keeps moving, and they keep going. A lot of people here, you're small business owners, can you not earn for a couple of years, 1, 3 years, keep paying your fees, you know, keep paying all your licenses so that all this other stuff can happen but you can't operate? It's unreasonable. And I'm not sure if it's lacking will or what it is. I understand it is a giant beast to be tackled, but I'm begging for your help on this one. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Good morning. My name is Michel. I'm from Lewiston. I don't normally come to the Board of Supervisor meetings, but this time I really had to express my frustration with the board and inaction from our local government. There are a lot of people who are super upset about what is going on with the cannabis program. Specifically, people are upset about the legal ambiguity in the program, lack of action on CEQA, and lack of proactive approach on board to defend the local growers' interests in the cannabis program as whole. One example of the gross carelessness is the budgeting for $1 million traffic light that may not be totally necessary, and not budgeting for hiring professionals to complete the CEQA compliance process. Please do something and finally get your act together and start representing the interests of the people who have elected you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Chair, I believe that if we're going to attend the fire briefing meeting, we should recess now and resume public comment.
Okay, do you want to say something?
Unfortunately, we have another meeting at 9:30, which is in 2 minutes. We have to join that meeting. As soon as we get back, we will take more public comment. I'm sorry for the delay.
Emma, this is Keith. Nothing's come through, so.
Yes, we're fighting an IT issue. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Like, do you have access to it there, or you can just read it off to me?
Yes, so you call in the same number.
I got that.
Okay.
I've got the passcode. I just need the meeting code.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
852 7592 0302.
852-759-0302.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
What time are we coming back? Do we know?
Approximately 11.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, welcome back to the board meeting. Appreciate everyone's patience on that. We're going to resume with public comment. Again, with items not appearing on the agenda for today. So anyone in the boardroom, feel free to approach the podium if you have not done so already. And then we'll do Zoom after the board.
Good morning, Liz McIntosh, Junction City. Finally made it to the real open public comment. As many of you might know, I've been trying for well over a week now to find out what is happening at Smith Pit and why. We know that they're operating again. They're supposedly still in revoked status. I've reached out to Supervisor Brown, Kuhn, Margaret, Kim. I've gotten back a memo stating that the revocation is held, but that there's operations part of the CUP, since it was really only supposed to be a scoop and haul operation, and they're operating. And I just really want to impart to you how awful it is for our community to be under the assumption that this is completely revoked. The material they're shipping out was processed on site illegally, You're coming home, some people after 3 weeks of evacuation, to that sound, to those trucks, to all of that, and no communication. And I know you have your hands full. You always have your hands full. And right now, I keep repeating in my head the saying that chaos is a ladder. And here these folks are profiting again off of their illicit activity, and nobody's giving us any communication about why. That's what we want to know, why. Because I've got the guy from there in writing telling me, well, it was in county code. We could do it. It's a stay of proceedings. The same code I'm reading that says if there's a board decision, that's immediate. I look back at the minutes, it says revocation holds. And I'm asking all these same questions to everybody that I'm posing them to, and I know I'm not alone in that, but nobody is addressing them. And I don't understand why. And it got to the place where we have a community member who literally showed up there wanting to like do direct action and stop them. And the police were called on her, and she was told they have a right to do business. You go. And it just feels like over and over again with this issue, we bat last. The environment bats last. And without communication, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to think? That's all we want is communication, and we want the county to follow their own rules. These are all out there. I'm fine to be like, okay, I'm wrong. I misinterpreted. I sat here when I know that Chairman Brown had asked County Council, can we do this? I would think that at that time, if the revocation could not fully be held, that County Council would have said something, but she didn't. So where are we at with this? If anybody could communicate with somebody in the community, you all know who we are, we're all on the same emails, the superintendent of the school, myself, Amanda, Martha, we all have access to the rest of the community. If somebody could just keep us abreast, we are happy to get that out to the community. But please just communicate with us, and please follow your own rules. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Hi, my name is Boyan. I live up there in Oregon Mountain. I'm license holder. I just want to ask county to figure out situation for us, for all us growers, to let us work. We can work together. If we need to do something about this sick plant, whatever, this is how we can help. We are here to work together to, let's try to figure out to continue our work, our business. We also, it's not just business about the marijuana business. All business around, all of them is profiting from us, from marijuana license holders. Whatever money, this money, it's not going out of state, it's staying, a lot of money staying in Trinity County. I just want to tell us, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter from Junction City. I also want to say, guys, help us to figure out to work out with our works. We put all our money in there. We want to work. Just help us, please. Thank you.
Hello, Justin Hawkins. It's nice to see you all. It's been a little while. So I wanted to just address the budget hearings are coming up next week. And so I thought it'd be a good time to talk about this right now. Obviously the cannabis department is in total disarray and doesn't really have the funding to get the job done. So I think it's only reasonable that there is no transfers out of the cannabis department on the budget coming up for anything other than actually getting licenses processed. And so unfortunately I think that means that the sheriff's office doesn't get any money for code enforcement this year. Because if you're a farmer, I think it makes sense to have your own site review, part of your license. But is it fair for you to have to pay to clean up your neighbor's site? Or someone else somewhere else in the county on their own private property? You don't have any control over that. And to think that the license holders now have been and are going to probably be asked again this year to foot the bill for code enforcement, that's not reasonable. What business pays to clean up messes that aren't their own fault? Do alcohol producers pay to run DUI checkpoints and pay for AA meetings and alcoholic counseling? They don't. No, to pay to someone else's mess to get cleaned up is not part of the program. We were told actually at the EIR hearing that code enforcement is not part of the program. It's actually stated in the document in the response to the NOP comments. So as far as I can tell, code enforcement's not part of the program. The farmers are getting no benefit, but you know who's getting some benefit? The county. Because when the farmers pay for those code enforcement officers to go out and do their duties, and they write fines, those fines do not come back to the cannabis farmers. Those fines end up going to the general fund, and they're used to pay for all sorts of things. This has been a deal that's been going on for a long time. And we'll loop it back in with maybe the closed session item later, but I want everyone to be on notice that if they try, if there's an effort to move cannabis funds out of the program to something that we were told is not part of the program, which is code enforcement, there's going to be a real problem. I mean, there already is an immense problem. But if this continues, I want it on record that I disagree with that. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Is there any other comment from within the boardroom? Okay. We have Adrian Keys.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity today. First of all, I'd really like to second what Justin said. We were told at one point that the funds being transferred out of the cannabis department to the code enforcement department were intended to enhance the program. Well, that's been an abject failure if that was the intent. There is no benefit to the cannabis permittees whatsoever. It's not included as an environmental mitigation. It's not promoted throughout the county so that citizens are aware that our funds are being used in that way. But I have another topic I'd like to talk about. And that's, I really want to thank Terry McBrayer for getting us our tax forms. It's kind of it's a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt today for me. But I am proud of that work that we did as a community. And I'm looking forward to paying my tax. If I can get up to Weaverville today, I hope I can be the first one to do so. And I would like to note also, you know, if there's further discussion about a tax, if anybody wants to bring a competitive tax measure to the Board of Supervisors, because this measure is seen as being too light or too difficult to enforce, I want to note that actually the federal regulations put forward by Schumer, Wyden, and geez, I'm forgetting one, there's another individual on there. Their recommendations actually mirror ours because it's taken from the craft industry, from the beer and wine industry. The federal recommendations are the same formula, not exactly the same numbers, but exactly the same concept. And I believe that if it's good enough for them, it's certainly good enough for us. It truly does enhance small farms' ability to compete in a competitive marketplace. And as we look at last year, where some of the permitted farms were wiped out entirely in the fire. This year, I'm certain it's happening again today, most certainly in Hayfork yesterday. Good friends of mine, unfortunately, and I'm a little bit emotional about it, frankly. It's been a very difficult number of weeks down here. To imagine them having to pay forward on their taxes and then lose every single thing that they own on their property, just completely exemplifies the rationale behind our tax and why, the exact reason why. And that's not even taking into account the fact that you can assume tax revenues will be lower next year for the obvious reason, which we will get into further on an agenda item later on. And that's all I've got to say. I'm sorry, I'm having a tough day, so thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Okay, next we have Amanda Barriger.
Hi, this is Amanda from Junction City, and I'm calling in regards to the Smith Pit Tailings in Junction City, run by Trinity Sand and Gravel. This business's permit, as you know, has been revoked, and although it was sent back to the commissioners for review of the board, the Board of Supervisors still stated that the current revocations are held in place. This business has been operating since last August 27th. And when the community confronted the planning department with this information, Kim Hunter produced a memorandum stating they're allowing this business to operate. In the memo, Ms. Hunter acknowledges that they're using material they illegally processed on site, which they never had a permit to do in the first place. The original permit was for scoop and haul only, and yet she is allowing scooping and hauling operations to occur. Furthermore, she is allowing this business to operate on this project from August 30th through September 10th. However, the activity began on August 27th. She also states that no Trinity sand and gravel trucks shall be used. Possibly this is her effort to limit the benefits to a business that has been in gross non-compliance with their now revoked permit. I'm not sure what the purpose was, but regardless, it is Trinity sand and gravel employees driving those trucks. Community members have spoken to them and confirmed that. I do not understand how business can legally operate with a revoked permit, and what's worse is it's sanctioned by our county officials with no heads up to the community. To add insult to injury, Ms. Hunter has allowed this activity to occur while Junction City was still under evacuation warning. Dutch Creek's road evacuation order was only just lifted on September 3rd. The roads that these trucks are using to access the mine are the only egress and ingress for our community, which has been a major concern and been still full of emergency and crew vehicles. This has been a concern for our community with an increase of semi-trucks using these roads in times of emergency, and in this scenario, it has been sanctioned by the director of the planning department for a business to operate illegally while its permit is revoked. The Sheriff's Office is still advising community members to be aware of residual fire activity in these areas, and yet here they are, driving their trucks up and down our road. How is it okay to allow an illegal business to utilize this road in a time of emergency? This is ethically and morally wrong to allow a business that has repeatedly violated its permit and damaged all trust with the community to continue to profit during a time which its permit has been revoked. It makes zero sense that Kim Hunter and county officials sanctioned any allowance for this business to operate at this time, in contrast to the commissioners and the Board of Supervisors' direction. Additionally, this material on site that was allowed was illegally processed in the first place. During the April 8th commissioners meeting, there was an extensive discussion about whether or not Mr. Buick should be able to recoup costs by selling this material he already processed, and the very clear answer was no, he cannot. How is this okay? Why are we awarding bad behavior? And this would not look good in federal court. I would like to know under what legal parameters the county decided this activity can be allowed. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Okay, next we have Walter Wood.
Hello, my name is Walter Wood. I am wanting to comment about the cannabis situation here. I want to just second all that John Bauer said. This is a complete failure. This lack of a program, lack of staffing the cannabis division. Yes, the county collected millions in license fees from us, but no one can answer the phone or email. I have years of emails going out. I have just a few, very few cherished emails or responses at all coming back. Usually it's a phone call so that I have nothing written. It's so hard to do business when you cannot trust the folks that are handing out the licenses to do their job. I'm sure it's not there. I don't know whose fault it is. I can't, I'm not in there. But it really, it's beyond frustrating. I'm sitting here reading my letter saying that my license extension has expired. I haven't actually received a copy of a license in a couple of years now. All I have is this one letter that says, oh, you can keep going. And that's now expired. All this time, the county's just been collecting license fees. I'm still collecting license fees and not printing licenses. I don't, how, if this was a normal business, this would be unacceptable. You can't, here, I'll give you this piece of paper for $6,000, and then I give us even that piece of paper. What are we getting? Where, this money is going to other things instead of making this work. We have all these families that have invested all this time and infrastructure. We have employees, all these things, and I don't know, do my employees have a job? Can anybody tell me that? I don't know. I can't tell them that they have a job next year. How does that feel? There's 4 more families that are just, we have no idea what's going on because the county is not taking care of this situation. I just, there's no license, there's no extension, there's closed sessions where our future is decided. I just really don't know how else to say this besides this is just devastating. I don't, it does not make me want to recommend Trinity County to anybody. If someone were asking me where should I invest my money, I'd say steer the heck clear of here. You don't know what's going to happen. You could invest all this and it just be let go. Not, no emails, no responses, no nothing. Please do something with our money besides spend it on enforcing other people's stuff. This is ridiculous. Thank you.
Next, we have Galaxy Note.
Hi there, my name is George. I am a 5 years license holder, and I just want to urge board to finally make a good decision and help growers to survive this hard time for all, with all fires and COVID. Everybody needs a job, so when America is struggling to find a job, we want to cancel the job. So please help us to survive this hard time. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
Next, we have Letitia Buchanan.
Hi, my name is Letitia, and I'm from Beaverville, and I've been doing business in Trinity County for almost 5 years now. I came today to express my disappointment from the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors have been allocating money from the cannabis program into funding the sheriff's office, new jail, useless traffic light, but zero reinvestment into cannabis, which is the program that generates revenue. Money was supposed to be spent on CEQA compliance and making the cannabis program legally bulletproof. So please, I urge you to start doing your job, start to deliver what many Trinity family local need most, which is jobs that, start to deliver what many Trinity family local need most, which is for you to do your job. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Audrey Tarbell.
Good morning, supervisors. This is Ryan Tarbell from Hayfork, licensed cannabis farmer since the program began back in 2016. I realize, sorry about that, that's my daughter back there. I totally acknowledge that some mistakes have been made in the past, but I would like to thank the supervisors for all the work that you're putting in right now to try and negotiate the best deal for us moving forward, and totally acknowledge that it's mostly out of your hands. So I would sort of like to cast this in a positive light. I think you all are doing good work right now and really trying to ensure a future for us. So I would really just urge you to move forward as fast as possible with the transition plan, with as much oversight as you can over the process, and really just starting to push these farmers through the environmental review, because that's really what's going to save us here at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Next is Marie Peterson.
Hi, this is Maureen Peterson, Beaverville. In the past 24 hours, it's been one of the most psychologically challenging days that I've had. Trinity County has been facing tremendous losses with our communities practically burning down, some parts actually burning, and just complete loss of all of our licensed farms at the moment. But I'm not really here to focus on the problem. I wanted to just focus on the solutions. Because, over this last decade, we've kind of seen that a cannabis ban doesn't stop illegal cultivation, and cannabis ban actually has created a tragedy of the commons down in the South County. And so, you know, at this point, it's like we can use sticks or we can use carrots. And the reality is that Trinity County never has had enough sticks to curtail the outlaw activities in the South County ever since the settlers came. And we have a bunch of farmers, both legal and illegal, that are really hungry for carrots at this point. The cannabis program is the solution to the tragedy of the commons, and it's the solution to the economy, the economic issues that we've always had being a welfare county. Because of the program, we now have access to money from the state to help with CEQA compliance. We have access to funding from California Department of Fish and Wildlife for remediation to allow licensed farmers to do things like replace bridges on, you know, legacy crossings that have been bleeding sediment into the creeks forever. We're really in a bad situation right now, but I'm really looking forward to an end of litigious terrorism that we've been going through for years now. And now we have an opportunity with a very competent board and a great planning director and 2 CEQA consultant firms that can help us process all of this paperwork. And hopefully we will be able to go forward without unnecessary TA oversight, because we are confident now and we have a stronger program than we've ever had. So I thank you guys for all the hard work that you're doing.
Thanks for your comments.
Okay, next is Maureen and Marin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi there, my name is Maureen from Beaverville. So I am not a license holder yet, but I've been trying since 2019, and I have done absolutely everything I was asked for right away. And since the last year, I have everything that CEQA requires. Actually, if you do know what CEQA requires at all, I spend a lot of money and a lot of time, pretty much everything that I have, and it's so hard to quit now. You know, I'm asking you, no, actually, I'm pleading you to stop pushing people away and to understand. I really understand there's a lot of money being wasted, especially like when Sheriff's Department goes more after the people trying to be in the legal process than the real illegal growth that's been going on around, and we all know about it. You should help people working in cannabis department and hire more professional staff, because they are also frustrated as much as we growers are, because they are taking all blame on them. And after all these fires and very bad market that you all are familiar with, you should figure out the way how to help people from your community and not just to make their already hard life even harder. So please do something about this. It's about time. We cannot handle it anymore. We really need your help on this. After all, you all sit in that chair because you promised us that you're going to be better and that you're going to do everything for us. So please just take care of us and do something. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Is there any other comment from within the room?
Yeah, hi, Tyler Thompson from Burnt Ranch. I had something other than the cannabis, but would like to touch on that as well. A few months back, you had mentioned an AOD program. I believe it was District 5 that brought it up potentially. I was just curious if you were still moving forward on that at all, which I'm sure is convoluted in with some of the cannabis permitting stuff. But also, I was on my way to the building department to discuss some things for a cannabis permit that I hold in Burnt Ranch, and my girlfriend holds one as well from 2016, both of us. And after starting to unpack some of the paperwork we evacuated here recently, did realize that those extension letters were expired, and I'm starting to mentally process the possibility of that reality if the program isn't continued on. You know, we have conducted both art studies, bio studies, sketching 1600s, state annual licenses, CEs with the county. I was a former general contractor. I basically ran things as a business. The lack of a piece of paper, which is in some ways just a comfort of knowing that things are being moved forward as they should on the other end, not on our end, it is comforting, especially after the thought of losing both farms to the fire, which was very close in Burn Ranch. We live close in. I'm a PTO member, have 3 kids. On the Burn Ranch Water Board, stayed behind, helped run the water system while fire was happening. I feel like generally like a good member of the community, and I think there's a lot of other people in the same situation as myself that are just not necessarily wanting to lay the blame on anybody, but also just wondering where is the accountability of where our investments, our time that has gone into this is being reciprocated by the county. So. I would ask that you guys continue on, don't let the program falter at this point in the game, and hopefully give some sort of public reassurance that, the licensees that were in good standing and were kind of counting on something to be provided can know that there is something happening. And then as well as continuing on with all the other things that you have to do. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Chair, I have none.
All right. Then, suppose we can continue on. So we'll go into the consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on an item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Is there any board member wishing to pull an item this time? I'm going to request to pull item 2.12. Is there any member of the public that has questions or comments on an item?
Mr. Chair, this is Rick, Director of Transportation, requesting that we pull 2.18 and consider a future date.
Okay, thank you.
Jeremy, this is Keith. Is the 2.12 the Forest Service letter?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted also.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, I look for a motion on the balance of items.
So moved. I will second.
Thank you.
Motion by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Grogan. Supervisor Grogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Keith, you there?
He gave a thumbs up on the video, thank you. And Supervisor Brown?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, item 2.12, clerk of the board, authorize the chairman to sign a letter regarding National Forest wildfire management, no fiscal impact. And Richard, you're on this item as the main contact, I believe.
I am, yes, thank you, Chair. It was brought to my attention, with supervisors, and so I reached out to Butte County CAO and discussed with them their intentions of the letter, and we've attached it to the agenda. And he says it was about the third revision because the first had foul language in it, so they worked it all the way back down to something they felt to be correct and poignant. After talking with him, he was excited to hear that Trinity County might join in on their issues, and maybe we'll try and recruit other counties have a team effort, but at this point, we're looking at supporting Duke County and pushing the letter through that's very similar to theirs.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Groves, did you have comments on this item you'd like to make?
Yeah, it's a bad day for me to make comments on this item because it's pretty tough to be professional today. But I'm in support of this. I'm actually in support of some pretty strong actions and maybe congressional hearings and things like that. This has gotten to be out of hand and time for things to at least attempt to change. Thank you, that's all I have.
Do either of you supervisors have any comments?
No, I think, this is very much more professional than the draft at this time. So I think I am very much in support of it. I think that there's a lot going on, even since last year. I'm still in recovery stage from last year's wildfires, and so definitely something has to be done, and if we can get somebody to listen, it would be beneficial. Hopefully it'll work.
Is there any public comment on this item?
Yes, Amanda Berringer.
Hi, thanks again. I am Amanda Berger from Junction City. So I am in support of this letter. I think, as you all have said, it is well beyond time to make a clear statement. The U.S. Forest Service has been a terrible manager of our forest and wildland firefighting. I do want to caution some of the language or intent that might be more problematic. So for example, this year we're seeing on the river complex some pretty heavy-handed tactics because we don't have all the right resources, such as hand crews and things that can actually go in and be more effective. We have more things more like dozers, and so there are a lot more activities like that in the Alps at this time. And what we're seeing, the management practices happening, is a lot of desperation. And so when there's feedback from community or government to not let it burn, which I agree, but I want to caution how we word that, because I think we're already seeing the impacts of that in the fact that they're now desperately attacking areas with resources that aren't appropriate because of the pressure from community. So I know that this is pretty nuanced language and difficult, but we have to be aware that how we say things might lead them to be more drastic in their measures in an inappropriate way. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Hello, Supervisors. Once again, Joe Brower from Junction City, wholeheartedly in support of the letter and any actions the county can take to, we're done requesting, we're done asking. We now must demand that the Forest Service manage their fuel risks on their property and protect our communities. For example, after the 2017 Helena fire affecting Junction City, it took out 20% of the homes in Junction City. Afterwards, the local RCD got grant funding together and mobilized in a big way to do roadside fuel reductions and fuel reduction work on other properties. They never heard back from the Forest Service, never got permission to do anything on the Forest Service land. Forest Service never responded. So RCD wasn't able to touch those spots. And now they burned over during this fire a few weeks ago in Junction City, blocking exit and access. Very predictable. And, that's just one small example. The Forest Service has completely neglected their responsibility to protect our communities and our natural resources. I would like to see them doing controlled burns every spring and fall, especially on the ridge tops and around these communities. I see no other means of managing wildfire risk in this new reality we're in. And we don't need a plan, we need action. So this is a good step forward. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Chair, I have done.
All right, thank you.
I'll move to accept, but I have discussion.
I will second.
So my discussion is though I appreciate the first speaker's comment, and we have to look at these things, with more sober eyes than we are today. But the wilderness area has not been aggressively attacked and not been in the river complex. They have had, as my contribution in the letter is, full suppression looks a lot like let it burn to us. But what really needs to be dealt with is we need to have, as they tried to do more and more wilderness within our county, we need to have buffer zones. SPI is our only savior here, is that they have some buffer zones, and it's their equipment, and it's their workers, and hopefully they get reimbursed, but we're relying on SPI to save our towns and the Forest Service, because they can't attack in the wilderness, or won't attack, is probably a better term, in any significant ways. So there needs to have long discussions about that matter. Thank you.
Only thing I can really add to this is that RCRC asked if I would sit on a fire policy ad hoc, because we're not the only county to kind of have these feelings, and I have full intention of doing that, and I think it would be valuable to make sure that the board as a whole is really reflecting the community's feelings on this, and I'm sure we could nitpick over some of the words and things like that. I think everyone wants a stronger letter than a more soft-spoken letter, understandably so. My only concern is, that this letter will kind of set the precedence of how we feel, and if the letter is accurate, then I think that's fine. But I just want to kind of make sure that the time was taken and that it wasn't written in haste, so to speak. And it's looking over the letter, it's mostly factually based for the most part. There's too much room for interpretation in it.
Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Can I request that the motion includes any updates to the facts that are in it, so it is current as of today?
Yeah, I don't know when the intention is to send it out, but every day those facts are gonna change, and so it's kind of like, how long do you want to wait to change the facts? But Dr. Kuntz, do you have a day you're trying to get this in the mail?
No, we'll take that direction from the board, but Em is correct, over 150,000 is now small. We're talking with the monument fire, and sadly, the August complex is no longer the largest fire in the state of California now. It's a Dixie fire, and it's dwarfed it by almost, 500,000 acres. So some of those changes will need to be made, so Em's request is appropriate.
Any additional conversation?
I think if possible, we could wait a week or so or two. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I was just gonna be a smart aleck and say, why don't we send it every day and we can update another 10 or 20,000 acres of land?
Or 100.
So I guess my question is, would this be more potent, when we have actual much larger numbers than this right now?
I think that we can work.
I would have liked to have this when it was only
The million acres of the August complex. I don't think waiting's gonna gain us anything. We've been waiting long enough. There's not enough Trinity County left to keep doing this for very many more years. I was just one, when we did the fire briefing, I brought up the Google Earth app and was looking at the distance between the August complex and the Monument fire, and where they're talking about the 10 road, there's only a little strip of green left between the two at that point. So waiting is not a good idea. I think we need to get this in the mail and follow it up with something else shortly. So I would definitely say let's get it updated and signed and on the way.
Liam, this is Keith. I think it's important that we're jumping on Butte, and if we get other counties to come forward, I think obviously RCRC is going to be involved. But I think it's important to kind of snowball this up now and not wait. So I'm in favor of sending it as soon as it's updated.
Keith, I agree. I just think that we should continue to update it as we go. I don't want to put it off. I just want to have the most impact as we can. So updating it would be fine with me, and getting it off as soon as possible also good with me.
All right, how many want to pull the board, please?
Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Frazier. Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item was 2.18, and that has been requested to be pulled and put for a future date. That is fine with me. Which would bring us to reports and announcements. Item 3.1, reports from department heads. Other department heads on Zoom wishing to report it.
Good morning, this is Liz Hamilton with Health and Human Services. I just wanted to report out that we are setting up a local assistance center this Thursday through Saturday, which is September 9th through 11th. On Thursday and Friday, the hours will be from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that is at the CD Hall here in Beaverville. We will be assessing ongoing, having additional local assistance centers. They're a one-stop shop for critical government services and supportive services, so we encourage anyone impacted by the fires to attend.
Liz, is this going to be where people file any claims for losses or damages?
Correct.
Is this going to be the sole opportunity, or is this the initial out of multiple?
This will be the initial out of several, as the fire is still active, or fires are still very active.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, Liz, this is Keith. So I appreciate your being in the front of this, and of course, I'm kind of stating this for other people's. Highway 3 is closed, so the only evacuation routes if, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands, if Trinity Center gets in danger, which would be a ways off, but it possibly could happen. So, you know, everybody's going to be coming your way. So we appreciate you getting ready and to be able to deal with them.
Thank you Supervisor Groves and
We lost him. Any other department heads wishing to report?
I would like to.
Go ahead, Terry.
Good morning. I wanted to touch base and give you some updates for our department. Last year was an eventful year for our office, besides the whole COVID thing. We had multiple conversions that took place. We do try to focus a little bit on the positive wherever we can, and we've reached a point where our property tax system, the rollover for this year went much smoother. And with our accounting software, we finally reached a point where we've identified all the issues that we had for our office, and we're moving forward. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We don't think it's a train, and so we're moving forward. We sent out our unsecured property tax bills and the cannabis tax bills as well. We've received a lot of positive feedback on those going out. There was another item that came up that I wanted to just kind of touch base with you all on to make you aware of. We had Trinity Life Support reach out to us in regards to some concerns that they had over short-term operational financing needs. And as to provide you a little bit of history on Trinity Life Support, they previously were a nonprofit organization, and with that presented its own challenges as far as reimbursements and funding that they can do, because as a nonprofit that either restricted or prohibited some of that. So they tried to remedy some of those situations by taking that to the voters, who have then approved a tax, special tax that's going to be placed for parcels that are improved in their service area. So that's the route that they took to kind of remedy some of the finance needs that they were aware of. When they reached out to us, now that they are a special district and they will be receiving revenues coming in from those taxes that will be placed on the property tax bill. We, after talking with the district more in depth and with Richard and so forth, we basically, I looked into it, and what I think that's more appropriate is the district has, they've issued a note, and what that'll do is that we as a county can assist them by, as treasurer, government code, and through our investment policy, I'm able to purchase that note to meet their short-term financing needs. So this is something that they provide a huge service for us, for the county. It's a vital need, and it's something that we can move forward with helping them on, but I wanted to just kind of touch base and make you aware of that. And with that, I think that's basically all I have to report right now.
Thanks, Terry. Any questions? All right. Anybody else on Zoom, department heads, wanting to report?
Yes, this is Kim Hunter. I would like to report. As you heard from the comments, can everybody hear me clearly?
If you can get a little closer or turn it up or something, that'd be nice.
Yeah, sorry. I will talk very loud. Let me get to my sound. Okay. Regarding the Smith Pit, the memo that was sent out on Friday, the evening of Friday, September 3rd. Do you guys, does the board have copies of that memo now?
Yes, we do.
Okay. This was a situation where there was, I did not see any easy solution on the morning of the 3rd, when I arrived in the office, there was a lot of communication, texts and phone calls from both Trinity Sand and Gravel and members of the Junction City community. There was a situation on the site of the Smith Pit where some citizens were physically blocking trucks from leaving the site. That was a civil matter and referred to the sheriff department. In the meantime, there was request for the planning department to do something. And after the situation had been resolved at the Smith Pit, Matt McCary, who is the foreman of the Smith Pit, works for Trinity Sand and Gravel, came to the office and explained that the trucks were picking up contracted material that had been processed prior to spring of 2021, prior to this matter being, prior to the Planning Commission taking action on the use permit. That had been stockpiled, and that was a very specific material that was for a restoration project on Highway 36, referred to as the Ditch Gulch project, and that it would be used for restoration of spawning habitat. Very unique, very hard to find material. And that these trucks were going to be picking it up, hopefully would be done by that Friday. And so, I'm sorry, so I had come into the office on Monday. That wasn't the 3rd, that was the 30th. So this, on the 3rd, after conferring with county council, I was seeking an equitable solution to address the issue in the interim. This item was heard by the Board of Supervisors on appeal and remanded back to the Planning Commission on July 7th of 2021. And will be heard, we anticipate, by the Planning Commission again on October 14th. So this has been going on for a very long time. So from there, I conferred with County Council on my ideas for an equitable solution. I drafted a memo that County Council did review, and seeking just a limited removal of the materials to complete the contract. There were several factors in my decision. One is that regardless of what happens to the use permit, whether it is reinstated with modifications, reinstated, or revoked, the material will be moved, continue to be moved to the site in one form or another. With reclamation, site stockpile material will likely need to be removed from the site, and that will be a 2-year process for reclamation, which is required by the State Department of Mine Resources. Secondly, the fact that the material is under contract, very unique material to finish a project. I do believe Trinity Sand and Gravel has other contracts, and the last line of the memo on page 2 states very clearly that no further activity of any kind shall occur at the Smith Pitts tailing site after September 10th. Unfortunately, the contractor, Steelhead Construction, could only find one truck to pick up the materials. So while they had hoped to finish last week with the pickup of the stockpile material and complete that process, it did unfortunately spill over to this week, and school did start on Tuesday the 7th, yesterday. I do apologize to the board and to the community of Junction City if I overstep my bounds. in the situation. I was asked to address the issue. I, again, tried to find an equitable solution. And I will leave it at that and answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I don't think there are any questions right now. Director Hunter, thank you. The other department heads wishing to report out.
And Director Tiffin, Department of Transportation. Last meeting, I advised the board that the traffic signal, we had a problem with one of the mast arms and that there'd be a delay associated with that. Since that time, we've determined that we can get the intersection up and operating with the existing equipment we have. It's not going to be the optimal location, but it'd be sufficient for turning the signal on. And we'll come back and we'll get the signal operating here in the next couple of weeks. We'll come back in about 2-3 months and fix that arm at that time. But for now, the intersection should be operating in short order. If you drove by it the other day, you probably saw a lot of equipment now standing, and it's getting close. So that's all I have to report.
Thanks, Director.
Rick, this is Keith. So the question came up today, was the stoplight paid with cannabis money?
I heard that too, and I will assure you with a 100% certainty that no, it had no cannabis money. As a matter of fact, it had no money from the county through general fund or any other sources. It was all sources within the road fund, the SB1 gas tax, and the old highway users tax. All those programs combined were what we used to pay for it. So essentially, it was road money that was what paid for it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any additional department heads wishing to report out? All right, hearing none. Dr. Coons, you have some reporting out?
I think we've heard enough bad news for today, so I have nothing to report.
Supervisor Frazier, what do you got?
I don't have anything this meeting.
All right.
A lot of canceled meetings.
Logan?
Myself the same, nothing.
Okay. Supervisor Groves, do you have anything to report out on?
Give me a second here, Jeremy, I can't find my calendar.
No worries. I'll go ahead while you put yourself together. Had an RCRC meeting last month now, mid-month. And as I said, been asked to join their fire policy ad hoc committee. Our first meeting with that ad hoc committee will be at the end of this month at the annual meeting in Monterey. I was able to meet with Congressman Huffman at the fire camp in Willow Creek on the 11th. And kind of, this is my first wildfire experience as a supervisor and as a affected landowner to this degree. In 2015, the fire came through Burnt Ranch on our property, and I got to learn about it. And other than that, I've mostly heard from the locals that have been here much longer than I have about some of their opinions on fire policy and management. And it was very educational for me to experience it firsthand and with my own eyes. And I think there is a good opportunity to have good discussions moving forward. And Huffman seems very responsive to that effort, so I was appreciative of that. Verizon and PG&E have been very helpful in bringing temporary phone service and Wi-Fi to the areas that have been affected by power outages and with the no cell service. So I encourage, if there's any other communities or other districts that need to have temporary Wi-Fi or Verizon service set up, They have units that can do a 1 mile radius, and usually they can get there within a day or two of notification and request. These services are free to the county and to their customer base. And so I do want to share appreciation for Verizon and PG&E. They have been helpful. Frontier, not so much. I guess that is it for me on reporting out. And I'll bring it back to you, Supervisor.
Okay,
Groves.
I'm back.
All right.
So on the 26th, we had NORTEC, which is the economic, jobs committee that we sit on for the whole North State. The news out of there was Lassen County is losing 1,000 jobs when they were shutting down the prison there in Susanville. So that's causing a great angst in Lassen County. They are not finished with attacking the state on trying to keep that open. But so they are working on to replace those jobs. Every other county has the opposite problem, that there's a big shortage of labor. So maybe we can get some people moving from Susanville to other areas. On the 1st, we have refinements for TMC. That's going on very slowly because of the all the issues and the fire issues. We have made some progress, but there's some frustration within the group that we can't move faster. And then on the 2nd, I had CSAC. So it's CSAC, nothing terribly interesting going on, but I did relay on the issue to other cannabis growing counties that the provisional license for us basically is struck down. That will have monstrous ramifications through the rest of the cannabis counties. I am in contact with the Mendocino supervisor who's looking into that. So where this all falls out is kind of anybody's game at this point. So I did have a bunch of notes in my office, but this is the best I can do off the top of my head.
All right. Thank you, Supervisor Groves. You guys want to take a break at all? Good.
Whatever you want to do, Chair.
You good? Dr. Keenan, keep going? All right, we're going to go into county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, and public may request that an item be heard out of order. Are there any requests for the changing of the order? Hearing none. Auditor Controller, item 4.1, approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 2021 for auditor report remittance, Department 0712, increasing transfer in by $5,987. Approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 2021 for contributions to other funds, Department 1990, increasing transfer out by $5,987. And approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 2021 for contingency general fund, Department 9901, decreasing appropriation for contingency by $5,987. Increase in general fund appropriations in the amount of $5,987. Current contingency balance is $93,834.
Hi, Christine Gaffney from the Auditor's Office. Does anybody have any questions on as to why we need to bring our deficit cash back to zero for fiscal year 2021?
Any questions?
No, we're good?
Thank you, Christine.
All right, thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item?
There is none in the room.
All right.
I have no hands raised and no new checks.
All right. Any additional discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 4.1 as presented.
All right, second. Then we'll go ahead and pull the board.
Motion by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Brown, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Passes. Thank you, Emma. Next item, human resources, item 4.2, pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410A, authorize hiring candidate number 4709182 as a social worker 2 at range G190, step C, Health and Human Services, Child Welfare Services, retroactively effective September 1st, 2021. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month for social worker 2 at A step is $6,021 and C step is $6,576.
Morning, Shelley Nelson, Trinity County Human Resources Director. So Health and Human Services Department, the Child Welfare Division, has been running a continuous recruitment for a vacancy of social workers since back in April. And the applicant that scored the highest amongst the interview panelists actually holds a master's degree in social work, has 11 years experience in Shasta County Children's Service Department, which includes social work case management, intake, tracking foster youth medical needs, and experience using the same state software system that our county also utilizes. The department's requesting the board offer of A step and C step for this candidate. The salary range and step would commensurate with the employee's training and experience, which exceeds the position's minimum requirements, and we appreciate your consideration.
Any questions? Is there any public comment on this item?
I see none in the room. I have no hands raised and no new chats.
All right. Entertain a motion. I'll move to approve item 4.2 as presented.
I will second.
Anna, please pull forward.
Motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes. Next item, 4.3, pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410A, authorize hiring candidate number 00796 as a program manager at range N 237 sub C Administration Grants Division, retroactively effective September 1st, 2021. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month for program manager at A step is $9,340 and at C step is $10,185. Back to you, Shelley.
Yes, thank you. So the administration department, the grants division, has run a recruitment for a program manager. The position's role is to manage the county's housing and homelessness programs. The applicant that scored the highest amongst the panelists holds a bachelor's degree, has 5 years experience in the applicable program, housing homelessness coordinations, with another Northern California county agency, and has 8 years supervisory experience. The candidate also brings ancillary skills that will significantly benefit this role as housing manager, which include being a real estate agent and a paralegal, as well as having a degree in criminal justice. The department's requesting the board approve offering above A step to C step. And this salary range and step would also commensurate with the applicant's training and experience, which does exceed the position's requirements. And again, thank you for your consideration on this.
Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, is there any public comment on this item?
I see none from the room. There are no hands raised and no new chats.
Okay. I'll move to approve 4.3 as presented.
I will second.
Motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Planning and zoning, item 4.4, introduce, waive the reading of an enacted emergency ordinance authorizing the specific development fees as in planning, building, and environmental health to be waived and establishing procedures for the issuance of permits relating to the reconstruction and temporary occupancy on private property damaged by the 2020 August complex fires. Potential unknown loss of revenue. At this time, it is anticipated that lost funding will not be recovered. However, staff will continue to pursue any possible disaster relief funding.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brown, members of the board. My name is Lisa Lozier. I'm Deputy Director of Planning, and I will be presenting this item for you, urgency ordinance for temporary housing, specifically for the August complex fire. So on November 17th, 2020, the Board of Supervisors enacted an urgency ordinance to place a stay on reoccupying and working on properties that have been impacted by the August complex fire in order to pursue efforts through Cal Recycle and Cal OES and various other agencies to do cleanup on those properties, to remove debris and any kind of hazardous materials, etc. So since that point in time, up to probably about the midpoint of August, those cleaning efforts have been moving forward and have finally gotten to a point that we are starting to receive letters of clearance from property owners, from Cal OES, and signed by our Environmental Health Director, Christy. And so at this point, we want to come forward with an urgency ordinance that is going to allow, we're recommending that the county take a look at how we can get people back onto their properties, now that we're getting to the point of cleaning up. And we would like to propose that we waive some of the fees for cleanup and waive some of the processing, and particularly in regard to, a lot of people would like to get back on their property, they'd like to pull on an RV, something temporary. Typically in our ordinance in Chapter 17, 030, 080, which talks about temporary occupancies, in order to place an RV on your property during construction or for a period longer than 90 days requires a director's use permit. So director's use permit, while it does not require to go to the Planning Commission, does take approximately 6 to 8 weeks to process. It includes notifying neighbors, circulation to various agencies for review, and a cost of, in this case, about $859. So in order to waive those requirements and get people back on their properties in a more realistic and expedient manner, staff is recommending to waive the requirements for the director's use permit. That includes all the fees that would be associated with the director's use permit. And instead of going down that type of path for permitting, that we take into account that most of these people, in addition to a director's use permit, would also be required to get an electrical permit to hook electric up to their RVs. So we're proposing that using the electrical permit, collecting all of the necessary documentation, which would be application for the electrical permit, an accurate site plan, including all of the necessary location of the RV, information on the septic well, would all be collected together and processed as one application with review for environmental health if we don't have a pumping record or an existing septic on file. So that would reduce the time for getting people back on their properties for temporary occupancy from upwards of 8 weeks to probably about a week. And it would simplify the process. We've worked on putting documentation together that we can post on the website with specific instructions of what we need, information on specific people to call for information, what the expectation is. We can give examples of what we're looking for, also to assist with moving forward and getting people back on their properties once the properties are cleaned up. We are not suggesting at this time that we waive fees for any type of permanent structures. We would like to instead understand that, when people come forward and say, I would like to have a container on my property temporarily, there are avenues to rent containers, which we accept those as temporary. If they want to put a permanent structure, they would be required to go through the same permitting process, but we would expedite those permits so we can get those done in a more timely manner. So that said, what is before you today is an urgency ordinance. It does require a 4/5 vote to be approved. And the urgency ordinance in front of you today also would supersede the ordinance that was adopted in November. And that, I think the number for that is 1354. I could look that up and verify. So very basically, that concludes my presentation. I would like to get to questions. If you have questions for me with any kind of specific requirements, if you have questions about the ordinance, then I would be glad to answer those for you today.
Supervisor Frazier? I actually got a sneak peek at the ordinance after I talked to Lisa about this a couple weeks ago. I think it's okay. I think it's a good start. I don't have any questions at this point.
Supervisor Gogan, do you have any questions?
I would follow Dan's lead. He's much more knowledgeable at this than myself. And no questions. No questions.
Supervisor Groves, do you have any questions about this?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item?
I see none within the room. I have no hands raised and no new chats.
All right, that would bring back to the board. Any additional discussion?
I will make a motion to approve item 4.4 as presented, and then we can discuss it later.
I will second.
All right, motion and second. Additional discussion?
Some of the discussion I would have is that this is a good thing. One of the main things is to revoke the ordinance that we already have that said people can't rebuild. In all honesty, people are already back on their property. That's all they have. People are not going to wait for the county's permission to move back to the only thing they have. So I think that we need to have a real understanding of what's going on, and there's a lot more opportunity now. It's like Ruth Ketton Palm last year, now it's Junction City, Big Bar, Big Flat, Coffee Creek. So I think hopefully we can learn from some of the stuff that's going on here, especially in the cleanup and expediting getting people back onto their properties. I still would like to see us get some owner-builder stuff going on. Let's really speed up the process. And there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. I'll try not to say that word, but I'll think about it here for a second. Hopefully I can come up with one other thing I wanted to say regarding rebuilding. And if you guys have anything to discuss.
We'll just echo what you said, a lot of people can't evacuate for a full year. And so it's interesting just being in this position, learning the required paperwork and bureaucratic steps that it takes just to kind of do what's right sometimes and do what makes sense. And that can be very frustrating, I think, for everybody involved, especially the homeowners that feel like they have to break the law so they can go back to their property and be there safely and all that. So hopefully this is a good step forward in working through that bureaucratic process and trying to ease the restraints. Thank you.
I do remember one other thing I was going to bring up in discussion, that it's probably something I'll bring up at a future board meeting, but from what I've seen in the August complex and the stuff that happened afterward, I think we need to revisit our camping ordinance. And that didn't have the effect it was supposed to, and it has become a burden on these kind of issues, so I think that's something I will probably be bringing forward in the near future.
I just saw that today.
I would just like to say I went back Dan, an owner builder, Class A, I call it, he calls it owner builder. I think it's an important step with the millions of acres of fire that we have now in our county. I see it in some places as the only answer, really, to get people back on their property. I'm sure a lot of people are uninsured, and me and Dan talked about this a little bit, and I'm fully behind that.
So Jeremy, and this is just slightly off topic, but I think that at some point soon that you would look at appointing maybe both Dan and Liam to an ad hoc to put together the ordinances. If we have to wait for planning staff, that will be years and no fault of theirs. But I think the only way to move that process forward is to, do an ad hoc of some sort. So that's just food for thought. I know this group hasn't, dealt with that very much, but they are very effective in getting things done.
Cool, that's a good suggestion, I like it, and I'll look into it and see if I can bring that back at the next board meeting. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. So before we go into closed session, I'm going to do it.
Can we
might want to vote on that.
Oh my gosh. I apologize.
Motion by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes with 4 out of 4. So I'm just going to do a 10-minute break before we announce the closed session items. And we'll do that.
Supervisor Brown, why don't you announce the items and then go on break?
Yeah, then he can go home.
You really want to know? I have to go pee.
Well, okay.
How long do we take?
Otherwise I can shut this thing down and go.
They said he's taking a 10-minute break, he wasn't really enough. So we take that right now?
Yes.
We're taking that. 10-minute break. Just grab me for 10 minutes. That's all
I
right.
appreciate that he didn't say 2 minutes. It's probably how long it takes, people say 2 minutes, they don't mean it.
Can we just skip closed session? Closed session is never good. I don't know the freaking agenda was. Oh, no. You don't even want to know. All right. Have a class in the firefighter budget.
Okay, that's fine. I just, hi, good, not too bad.
That's because I kept my mouth shut. It's a hot topic. It is a hot topic. I get caught around the phone. There's something people. What's that? Wildland fire and cannabis. Let's just freaking box. Get it over with. It's like, do we have anything more today? Do we have any active shooters? Come on.
Don't put that out in the world.
The one rule I've always learned is nothing so bad it can't get worse.
10-4. There's always, it can always get worse. We can get the federal government to work it out. But we're breaking out. Yeah, for some reason though, I just regular. I didn't expect today to be very hot. I woke up like ready to fight. Let's get it on.
Yeah, that was.
You said 10 minutes. You don't have to. If it's 10 minutes, you need to see the doctors. You suffer slow. Pretty quick stop against 30. I've heard the commercial, like, I've never heard it so far.
Where's that? I thought there was already
Shorty's talking.
Yeah, I think it's at the tie there, but it didn't think they could hold it.
Can you mute Keith in case he's talking about something important or
Yeah.
embarrassing?
I didn't think about that.
You keep this one?
Which one? I'll keep it. Oh, you're gonna- yeah. But they have to sign this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just gonna wait.
My mistake.
Is the person's name Charlie?
I don't know. That's how Margaret.
No, they said Charlie. Oh.
I tried to get clarification.
Yeah, if you didn't like it, you kill it. If you were having a look at it, pretty straightforward.
Is this what you're looking for?
Just say, yeah. Don't try to put names on it, that's too much. Page 2, real page.
That gets to.
John's chair.
Is that on there?
Yes.
All right. All right, thanks for your patience. Coming to closed session, item 5.1, Government Code Section 549-54.5C, Conference of Legal Counsel, existing litigation, number of cases 2. Case 1, DFEH, Notice of Charge, Bailey versus County of Trinity. And case number 2, Trinity Action Association Inc. versus County of Trinity et al. Trinity County Superior Court, case number 19CV001. We have a public comment on these items.
Hello, board, Justin Hawkins. So the situation here, I mean, honestly, most people aren't even gonna show up to comment on this because I don't really think this is gonna get resolved here. But I wanted to just come talk to you, maybe tell you kind of what's going on, the conversations I'm hearing. I've been here long enough to remember the whole process. And back in 2016, the county made a deal with the farmers that they were gonna pay for a program, they're gonna stand it up. The county was gonna do environmental review. They started in 2017 with a mitigated NECDEC draft. It's well known that that was what was gonna need to happen. But in the meantime, the county's been taking money out of the program and giving it to code enforcement. And those revenues are never returned back to the program. That money was needed to stand up the CEQA process years ago. And so I really feel like the county broke the deal with the farmers when you went ahead and voted as a board, some of you were here then, to accept the TA settlement agreement, which basically invalidates provisional licensing in this county. And I gotta tell you, it wasn't like an order came down that decided that provisional licenses were no longer legitimate. The county settled on that. They acquiesced that point. Now, I would be okay with that maybe if provisional license did not exist in the rest of the state, but they're all over. Look at all the Santa Barbaras, look at Humboldt County. Look, provisional licenses from the counties exist all around us, but we're told we can't have them here? Are we in a different state? How is it that there's provisional licenses all over and we don't get them here? We got double crossed by the county. You've been taking money out of the county's fund, spending it on everything else you want to prop up the general fund through fines. There's a whole lot of other problems. There's never been a fee study. I don't think you guys have the data to do the fee study. It's chaos. This is so serious. You don't even, I hope you guys have a little bit of a clue what's coming. Because if you think the TA lawsuit cost you a lot of money, dude, this is gonna get big. The farmers deserve every dollar that ever went to code enforcement. They deserve that back right now, plus interest. Because somebody's gonna have to pay their mortgages. When people don't have money because the program wasn't administered properly to feed their families, what are they gonna do? People go crazy when they don't have money and they can't feed their families. And if a licensed professional took money from somebody and then didn't honor the agreement and spent the money somewhere else, that's fraud. I think it's a slush fund. It's sad, and the farmers are being abused, and it's time to stand up, and it won't happen here. It's too bad. You guys had a chance 2 years ago to solve this, but you settled. It was the wrong call. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the boardroom?
On a right with Beaverville. I don't need to tell you what a failure the order that's about to come down is. I don't need to tell you what happened in 2019. I don't need to tell you that all year, I, including other people, have asked you to act on extending the urgency ordinance. To this very moment, we still don't have an order down. We could have done it today, but you've choked time after time. And it's not just the supervisors, it's staff, it's mismanagement, it's not making decisions and moving forward. Government doesn't have to just sit still. Government can continuously progress. But for 10 months, we've been told that there's going to be a plan coming down and how to administer an ordinance that we've had since the end of January. I've emailed each of you supervisors individually. I've emailed the CAO and I've emailed Director Hunter what needs to happen next, regardless of if TAA stops our season in October, November, December, whatever the hell comes out of this order. What needs to happen is action by the supervisors, because we cannot depend on staff to do anything at this point. I've seen a PowerPoint presentation and a table of contents on this transition plan, and that's it, in 10 months. I know other urgency ordinances were given priority in the Lewiston and Rush Creek areas. I'm not going to point fingers, but I think we all know who gave that direction. So let me tell you what needs to happen next. Next meeting, by the end of September, you need to hire the consulting agency and get them on the books and get them in office. If they have 15 to 20 people, that's 15 to 20 more staff members than you have now that are qualified and have the bandwidth to review checklists. The only thing that's required from cultivators at this time are the checklists with biological assessments and sometimes cultural assessments. In the beginning of this year, the county staff told people don't do CEQA. So now, most of the program's going to be screwed because they didn't get biologicals done during the spring when they should have. By end of September, the consulting agency needs hired. It needs to start reviewing the checklists that are already turned in. I can tell you there are many from us Trinity River, other consulting companies, and other individuals. By the end of December, and that's late, cultivators need to submit their checklists. If you want to make an earlier timeline, you're welcome to, but end of December would be fair to the cultivators who were told not to do anything until now. Within 30 days of a timeline being submitted, the county needs to respond with additional information requests. They cannot sit like they always do on these checklists or any other applications. They need parameters, and you need to set their parameters for them because staff's not doing it for themselves. While checklists are being reviewed, the county needs to respond to CDFA to say that CEQA is in process, or else all licensees will lose their provisional licenses, and it's a mess to try to get new ones. By March 1st, determinations have to be made and noticed and given to cultivators so that the season is not blocked. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Additional comments from the board?
Good afternoon, I think it is afternoon now. Lisa Wright from Lewiston, Chair, Supervisors. So I was one of the real parties in interest that responded together with the county to the original TAA lawsuit. We did not support the settlement agreement. We urged you not to support the settlement agreement. We did not want county funds out of the cannabis fund being paid for that settlement agreement. That all happened anyway. This time, you're going to be saddled with $250,000, $300K in fees because you did not follow the settlement agreement of 2019. You were unable to implement a program. I can't figure out why. It doesn't take a master's in public administration to do it, which I do have, and I cannot understand it. The attorney's fees cannot come out of the cannabis fund. It is not the fault of the farmers that the county is in this position. It's the fault of county administration and county officials. That needs to come out of the general fund. Somebody else has to bear the brunt of that. We do support, and we filed, the parties in interest filed today to support the county's proposed timeline to go into the order. So we encourage you to stick by that. Do not fall back and resist, please, going to an October 31st deadline. There's absolutely no way that a season can be completed by October 31st. It's just catastrophic for the farmers. We came up with some numbers, and it's in our court filing. Even conservatively, from 200 farms at 400 pounds, that's conservative, you're looking at about 80,000 pounds of cannabis. There's no way to bring that to the market, and if you were forced to, you would collapse the market. That is what California consumes in a month. Totally collapse the market as well as the price. County tax on that is about $620,000. If you were at 530 licenses at 400 farm, you'd be at over 1.6 million. If this goes through, farmers aren't going to be able to go to market. There's no way you're going to put it in October when it normally takes October, November, and beyond just to cure, harvest, prepare your packaging. You don't want to throw it into a market when there's a glut. Typically, a lot of farmers wait until spring when things get a little drier if they're able to financially. CDFA stands to lose $12 million in tax revenue by not allowing those 80,000 pounds to get into the marketplace in a regular fashion. We have an FEIR, a final environmental impact report. We have an ordinance that was adopted and went into effect at the end of January that incorporates the mitigation measures. We need action. We need an execution plan immediately. Please direct staff today to do that forthwith. Thank you so much.
Any additional comments?
Ilya from Junction City. What I wanted to say is that there was a couple of meetings, actually one meeting when the TA lost their ability to operate as a business because they didn't pay franchise tax or something like that. Their corporation was suspended. And the majority of licensees, they talked to you guys and asked you not to settle with them. and you still settled with them. I feel that this is a complete failure on the behalf of the county to not follow the direction or not follow the urges from the community, which is supporting this county since 2016. Another thing I wanted to ask, Mr. Gross said that the traffic light was not, it's a rhetorical question, of course. He said that the traffic light was not paid with the cannabis fund. What is being paid with the cannabis fund? Can the board and the county be a little bit more public and open on where the money from the cannabis fund goes? Thank you.
Additional comments from the board?
Yeah, once again, Joe Brower. And, yeah, I mean, it's catastrophic. It's on all of us. The county has utterly failed in providing this essential service. It's not a luxury we're talking about. This is an essential service that supports thousands of families in Trinity County. You know, it'd be nice if this court case had proceeded and we could argue on the merits of the environmental protections that our program brings. But instead, the county chose to settle. So now we're in a spot where, you know, exact same spot we've been in for years, where there is only one course of action to take, and that is do your jobs. Start this individual, site-specific, discretionary review. Get her done. I mean, hundreds of them in months. So pull it, you know, yeah, it's an all-hands-on-deck moment, just like the last 10 months. So, yeah, it's a big deal. And here we are. So, yeah, I don't think we've received great counsel. I don't think we've, you know, there's plenty of places we could point fingers. But this is everybody's responsibility to get her done. I'm supportive of the current language, as I understand it, that the county is proposing for the final court order that would extend cultivation activities for a bit and administrative type activities associated with these licenses for an additional period of time. Lisa Wright is absolutely right. The county must be in a position to offer local authorization to maintain state provisionals. The notion that Trinity County can't participate in the state provisional program is ridiculous. We had our county program before there was a state program. Trinity County could be, should be, showing the rest of the world how to do cannabis better. The environmental protections coming first. The rest of the community that complains about the cannabis industry, they're about to lose all of their protections that our county program provides, right? Limitations on zoning, setbacks, opt-out zones, all that, right? There is zero faith in the county's program at this point, and it's up to you guys to get this thing back on track right now. Please, get her done, do your jobs.
Any additional comments from the board? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Yes, we have Adrian Keys.
Hey, thank you again, Adrian Keys from Hayfork. I stand strongly with the previous commenters. I would like to note specifically that the extension of these dates as proposed by the county does not only benefit the several hundred licensees, it benefits every single citizen in Trinity County, as our previous ordinances have done also. I'd like to note in the original urgency ordinance that founded our program, it was seen that a program was a necessary component in protecting the public health and safety of this county. And the program had been successful to a point by garnering participants. Many have come and gone. Some of us are still here. We absolutely need and we absolutely deserve the county to stand up for us at this point. We have paid through the nose over and over and over again. Many, many, many of us have taken this quite seriously. All we're waiting for is to be able to submit Appendix Cs and have our environmental reviews. It is atrocious that we, the cultivators, we're the ones who are going to suffer behind this. The county government, whether you care or not, it's not really going to impact you that much. Well, except for, in the budget. But every single citizen in Trinity County will suffer with us in a different way. We're going to suffer tremendously economically if you don't find a pathway for us to maintain our state licenses. We will lose access to the grants that are already in progress to fix legacy issues in Trinity County that people have been complaining about the entire time that I've lived here. Every single person knows that the county has been underfunded and neglected for generations. And here we have an opportunity to actually address many, many of these issues. We have an opportunity that is being squandered. It's very difficult to maintain a positive attitude, but I am positive still. I need the supervisors and staff and council to support us. We have done everything that we have been asked to do. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm not. I'm furious. There's a big difference between whining and being furious. If there is anything else that you need us to do, just ask. We've offered our help. We've offered access to state agencies that could have helped solve this problem, help nip it in the bud in the initial settlement. We have done everything humanly possible. And here we are, looking at bankruptcy and looking at a county moving backwards in time to a place where nobody wants to go. So please, I apologize if I'm a little irate, but this has been a tough couple of weeks with the fires, and this is just the icing on the cake here. So please, please be supportive. Thank you.
Patrick Kagan?
Yeah, hi, Trinity County and all you Board of Supervisors and staff. Appreciate having the opportunity to speak. I just want to, commend everyone who spoke today on cannabis program and its dire situation that we're in. And I appreciate all those thoughts and words, and I feel pretty much the same way that Adrian just spoke. But I also want to pivot into my situation, and that is I've been working on a CUP for over 3 years. And I'm currently just finishing my biological after being kind of ping-ponged around on whether I would need that or not. And now I don't even know if the SHN, the agency who's been overseeing my CUP for those years, is even still currently on staff. If my project is even continuing as it should. And to me, coupling that with this lawsuit, it's just, I just feel betrayed. I feel betrayed by the system and by the people who've been administering the system. I don't want to come down hard on the Board of Supervisors and the staff. I've met most of you in person. I've talked to you in person for years and expressed my frustration. I've been at this longer than the cannabis program. I did the same thing trying to get an appropriate subdivision through the county, and the county didn't even have a surveyor on staff, so they had to sub that out. I have no idea how many subbed out required positions are in that Trinity County uses. There's no accountability. There hasn't been for years. And so I'm just extremely frustrated, and I really like some guidance, because unlike many people, I had an annual license with the state. I still have an annual license with the state. It doesn't expire until June. And here I am worried about whether or not I'm even going to be able to bring my season to a close. So what is going on with all the other stuff too, that is nuanced in this process, that the county's required to maintain. I was told that I would be able to do a CUP during an emergency ordinance that now it isn't even legal, or whatever. I'm not a lawyer, but it feels extremely negligent. And I don't know the law. I don't know.
Sorry, Patrick, your time's up.
Audrey Tarbell.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Ryan Tarbell, A-Fork. I would just like to reiterate what some of the other speakers have already said about how this issue of local authorization while CEQA is underway. This hasn't been decided at the state level. The only reason that we're losing this is due to the settlement agreement. So through all these conversations, let's please keep that in mind. And you know, and because of this, we're in a very, very hard position, as we've heard all day long here. So please just let this be a lesson that in the future, really be less quick to settle these cases. If there's any chance that these cases are winnable, even if it does put the county at risk, these need to go to court, because this is really harming, you know, thousands of people in our county, and is really going to be catastrophic, like we've heard. And again, I really do thank you for the negotiations that have taken place, in taking this really bad situation and at least trying to get us through this year. And I do really believe at this point that you guys do support us and do want the best for us. So really, let's try and move this process forward as fast as we can. And really, the board's oversight is going to be essential for moving us forward into a transition plan. A previous speaker made a comment about how many Appendix Cs are already waiting to be reviewed. We need this transition plan because it's going to spell out really important things, like in what order are these applications going to be reviewed. It really should be by license number. It shouldn't be by somebody that, you know, turned it in months ago when technically we weren't even allowed to turn them in. So please, we need this transition plan immediately. We need staff, which I know you guys have been working diligently on. And let's try and get as many people through this process by next year as we can. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
Tom Bolenko.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tom Bolenko, Douglas City. As I'm sure you all know, I represented 9 courageous licensees who, despite not being served as was required, jumped into this lawsuit when it was first filed back in 2019. And so I participated in all the aspects. We did not sign on to the settlement agreement, but we did attend all of the status conferences and the goings-on since then. I share the frustrations that are being expressed by all the previous speakers. I also share many of the frustrations that you may hear about in closed session with your own counsel that arose really over the last week or two. I do want to focus on solutions. We can point fingers all day long about why we're here, but that doesn't change the fact that here we are. However, being here, there's only one path out, no matter much of the details are left to the court to decide at this point. But no matter what those decisions are, our only way forward is via the county's programmatic EIR, which is certified, and the permanent ordinance. And I urge you to consider, as our path forward, relying heavily on those two documents. It's a good FEIR, says the guy who sued on it. For your information, the EIR aspects of that lawsuit were dismissed last month, and your counsel can explain that as well. So that EIR is ironclad, so I urge the county to rely on that EIR and establish firm baselines. See what is clear about what a baseline is and when a baseline occurs. And for Trinity County, that was December 2018. Use those baselines. Use the CEQA process based on the programmatic FEIR that we have. Use categorical exemptions where appropriate. And we can actually get these licenses processed. That's the way forward. We just have to do it. Up until that point, we're aligned with the county at this point. So we've got to get through this together. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Blanco. So, Tom, as you know, this court order is not just about the settlement, but the court order also is very clear that this is a statewide issue. But my question to you is, why did you force this issue in court and instead of allowing this time? What benefit is there to have had this drop at this time?
I'm not sure if I forced this issue in court, and I don't think there is an actual benefit. We all would have liked to have seen a transition plan earlier, but I think the county strategy of extending or using a new urgency ordinance in September, or in the meeting just prior to this one, would have been a viable strategy. It would have gotten us through this season, taking some of that pressure off. It was the motion to enforce, which I think was driven by the expiration date of the settlement for 2021. They're filing a motion to enforce that agreement or losing that opportunity. So I think it was actually TAA's motion to drive this to court, that it was their motion that brought us to court. Certainly, the county and we responded, but they were the prime mover in that act.
Okay, we can discuss that later, but that's not how I see that process. So thank you for your answer, Tom.
Next, we have Walter Wood.
Hello, it's Walter Wood, 20-year Trinity taxpayer, frustrated with tax like most of these people trying to speak. It's really emotional for us. This is really hard. We haven't started our process for this Appendix C because we were given an exemption. And then there's been no clear instruction or even remotely close to that from the county as to how to proceed, how to keep our license even in going is not even clear. Like, you go onto the website and it's a couple-year-old application and things like that. There's no information. Well, I did look on today, it looks like there's some updates on there. The website, or the email link, you click onto that, I was told isn't even actually monitored. And from the number of responses I've gotten to that, I would say that that's correct also. This just needs to be really timely. How am I supposed to plan for next season? How am I supposed to tell my employees they have a job even this week or next week? This is, at this point, as far as I can tell, it's not legal for me to have any plants at all right now, because my county license is expired, and as far as I can tell, that's required. We have to get this straightened out, and I know it's, you know, I don't know who may be to blame or any of that, and I don't really care. I just care that we really work together and get this figured out. You know, we can't let this all go at all this point. We put everything we had into this. 4 years ago, if I hadn't invested in all this, then I wouldn't care so much. But at this point, it's everything I've got now. If I lose all this, then I'm out. I'm done. You know, I don't have a way to make the payments. I don't have a way to pay your guys' taxes. So we just need to fix this, please. Please, please fix this. Thank you.
I have no other comments on Zoom.
All right. So that we will go into the closed session. I will be recusing from the second closed session item.